contest, that you do it on your PC. Don't do it on a phone. Don't call in and say, hey, I'm here to give a presentation and not be able to see you. That's not going to work. So that's really important, that you're downloading the latest client, and make sure that you have the latest client. Zoom is constantly updating their software, and it's sometimes tough to keep up with it. Make sure that when you go in, there's actually a way that you can go in and check for updates here. You can go and check for updates. Just make sure that when you're in, wherever you are, if you're in your Zoom client, that you're able to check for updates and make sure you're on the latest one. That will ensure as maximum compatibility as possible. We've had people say, hey, I can't see certain features, or I can't see what I'm doing here. I don't understand. And if you're not on the latest client, then you may not be able to experience the features that are necessary for running a contest or even for a meeting in general. So I'm just going to go through a few things here. Those were just basic items just to make sure that you're using the client, you're using the latest version. I think that's point number one. Point number two, very important to get. Now, most of you, I think, have already understood how to join a meeting. And to join a meeting, you have to have a link that either has one of two things. One, it either has a passcode or a meeting ID and a passcode. A meeting ID is usually 9 or 11 or 12 digits. You can enter that in yourself, and then if you do that, you're going to have to enter in a passcode. And that passcode has to be given by your club. Your club should have access to those passcodes through your division director. Now, what's the easiest way to do it is to use a link, and a long link. And the long link has what's called an encrypted passcode in it. And it's usually a one-click item where you can just join the meeting automatically. You don't have to enter in anything. You should just be able to go in and be able to join the meeting as normal. But the one that you see on this join a meeting screen here, this is what's referred to as a short link. Now, short links can be used, but there are ways of getting in. You can use the password to go into your meeting. Now, there's some, you may have a division director or an account which is set up that has what's called a waiting room. A waiting room is another level of security which provides a way for you to authenticate people coming in. So if you know who's coming in a meeting, for instance, in a smaller meeting, a waiting room is a pretty good way to do it. You can look at the people coming in, say, yeah, I know Sally Smith, or I know John Jones. They can come in. You can admit them manually. The host can, or the co-host can let those people in manually. So you can have a waiting room that doesn't have one of those big, long encrypted passwords to it. You can just join a short link if the meeting is set up such as you can, the host can admit people as they come in. If you find somebody that comes in that you're not sure of, you say, well, I don't know who Scott Holohan is. I don't know who is that guy. And you can actually not admit him, but you can have a chat with them and say, hey, I don't know who you are. How did you know about us? You can get to know them a little bit better before you admit them. So there's a way that you can go and you can do a chat before you let them in. So let me stop there and see if there's any sort of questions with respect to how to join meetings in terms of the links and how to get into a meeting. Is there any questions on that?
You can put it in the chat, and remember, I muted everybody because there was a lot of background noise.
I see. Okay.
Feel free to unmute yourself. Unmute yourself if you have a question.
And I didn't see
This
anybody.
is Eric.
Okay, go ahead, Eric.
Quickly, I just want to confirm. So if I'm going in with the meeting ID, which is that 9, what is that, a 10?
Could be 9 to 12 digits, depending on.
So I enter that plus the password to get in. I've always used just the link, so I just
So yeah, there's a couple different ways to get in. You can use the shorter link, which should be, you can click on, but it will prompt you for a passcode. And the passcode is typically something that's at least 6 digits long. In this one, it says 3 digits, but Zoom security, Zoom has upgraded their capabilities so that you have to enter in 6 digits. That passcode should be provided by your club sergeant at arms or club president, which is handed down through the division director.
I've never had to use a passcode when I clicked on the link, so I don't know what that means exactly, but
That's okay.
I click on the link and it takes me and says join meeting, and then join meeting, and it just
That's the
pops out.
best way to do it. Zoom has those 2 ways you can do it. There's an encrypted link that has a nice long link to it, much longer than the one you're seeing on this on the screen.
Okay,
And
so
that's the best way to do it.
That's what I clicked on tonight. From what you sent out, that was what was there.
Yep,
So
it's a one-click process.
So that's a one-click process. The Zoom meeting will take a passcode, which I should get, and I can enter the meeting ID, and then I have to enter the password.
Correct.
Okay, got it.
Hi, Scott. I do have a question. This is Shirley Stallworth.
Yes.
And I have both Zoom on my smartphone and Zoom on my computer. If I create a Zoom session on my smartphone, and then I try to access that Zoom session from my computer, there are all kinds of issues like the sound, and everything. Right. Can you explain what the issue is with that?
Sure. So what you're basically doing, I'm assuming that you're right next to both devices. So you have a smartphone in your hand, which is, or maybe it's on your desk here, and then you're also right next door to it has a computer. Both of those have microphones. And when you are talking, your phone is picking up your voice and your computer is picking up your voice. And what happens is there's a nasty echo that happens when that occurs. So you need to do one of 2 things. If you really have to have 2 devices, mute one of them.
Okay.
You have to mute at least one of them.
Okay.
Preferably, if you have to use 2, like I said, if you don't have to use 2 devices, let's say your computer doesn't have a camera and your phone does, I would mute your phone. And if your phone has a camera and you want to see your face on it, then just I would say put it up where you can get a good view of yourself. But on your phone, mute your phone.
Okay, thank you, Scott.
There should be some icons that come up which allow you to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Scott, there's a couple of questions in the chat.
Okay. Let me see if I can access that here.
I can read them off. How does one become the host for a Zoom meeting? Can this be done with the free version?
So I think with the free version, there is, trying to think if there's a host key for a free version.
If you're using your own, you are still the host.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
You don't get the option.
You automatically host. If you set up the meeting in your account, you're automatically the host.
That's correct. And then you can assign co-hosts to anybody in there. You as a host can assign co-hosts. You can go in the participants panel and be able to select that person that you want to make a co-host, and then I think there's a more button or a drop down arrow that you hit, that you click, and then there will be a selection down there which says make co-host or make host. Now, as far as hosting a meeting, so let's say that you go into a meeting, you like Eric said, you click into a meeting and nobody's a host. It's like, who's hosting this meeting? This is another situation where there is a 6-digit code. This is separate from the passcode. So the passcode is the password to get into the meeting, okay? The host key is once you're in the meeting, there is another 6-digit code, which is provided again by your division director, which is handed down through the clubs. And the club has to know that. before you have access to all the hosting capabilities. So that communication down through, from the division director down to the clubs needs to be in place. Each club should have access to your host key. Again, when you're in the meeting, what will happen is you'll see in the participants panel, you'll see 3 buttons or 2 buttons down on the lower right-hand corner, and one of those buttons will say claim host. If nobody's the host, that button will appear, and you'll have to click on that button and then enter in that 6-digit code, and then that will give you the host capability. So again, the key thing is that that host key is separate from the passcode to get into the meeting. Hopefully that answers your question.
Scott, I have a couple questions.
Yep.
This is Judy. I usually use the regular meeting ID and the passcode to get in. And when I do that, I have the timing background files that I've stored in my little Zoom folder. So it says timer or green, yellow, red, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
So this last time, I used the link in the email instead. And none of my background filter things were there. So is that a limitation of using the _ Zoom link rather than using the meeting ID and the passcode?
No, so sometimes what happens, and I think I've experienced this too, and somebody can speak up with their experience as well, but sometimes when Zoom forces you to upgrade from one version to another, what happened to me is it wiped out all of my video backgrounds, and you kind of have to start from scratch.
Okay.
I think that was my experience. I don't know if anybody else had a similar experience or can explain it any better.
I have had the same experience because I've just done the recent update to the 5.42. And the same thing happened. I lost everything and had to add them all.
Yeah,
Now,
I'm
they're
not sure
saved
why
on
Zoom did that.
They're saved on your hard drive, so it's easy to do. It's just a nuisance. But at least you didn't lose them completely. You just had to.
Yeah, so those Zoom video backgrounds, I'm not sure if I have what I'm going to do is, those are kind of general questions for a good tutorial. What I'm going to do at the end of my basics part is I want to give you not only access to this PowerPoint file, but I want to give you access to a Zoom link, which has really good tutorials on some of the basics. Some of the basics like we've talked about, and I'm sure we'll get into here as we go along.
Yes.
So I think that'll be good for people as well. But certainly we want to answer your questions as best we can here in real time.
Scott, hi, this is Sue Schindler. And what I was wondering is, how do you set up the email that has the Zoom invite that people can put this on their different calendars and then just link into the meeting?
So we're probably getting into scheduling here. Yeah, so I think scheduling, I'm trying to think how best to do this. Let me look at these slides aren't maybe the greatest, but I'm gonna, as far as being able to see everything.
How many of you actually set up the session while you're doing that, Scott? How many of you actually set up the sessions yourself, or your division director has set them up as a recurring for your meetings? So Judy, some of you actually do have your own account and are setting them up.
No, I've got it from my division director.
Most of you have gotten them from your division director or somebody else.
Uh-huh.
And that's why but when you go in to look at your session, that email, but he's going to pull it up. Usually once I create the agenda, then I go into there and send it out that way.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if there's a way to copy. I think I understand what you're saying as far as sending out the link in a calendar note. Calendar notes are really good. I think that's a good way to be able to share all the information about a meeting to people instead of trying to fumble through your email.
Right.
I totally get what you're saying, and I'm trying to see if we have something in here which
I
kind
don't,
of goes over
Just
that
left
here.
it. Scott, you just left it. It had on the side, the right-hand side, it said, copy invitation.
So this is where, yeah, so
that's it.
I
That's
think
it.
this is probably the best way. So thank you, Julene. So what you can do is you can go into this. Hopefully you get this when you're setting up your meeting. You can copy the invitation, and whoever is, maybe let's say the sergeant at arms or whoever's the Toastmaster for the meeting, be able to set a calendar invite, whatever client you want to use, whether it's Google or Microsoft or whatever platform you use. You can paste the link and paste all that invitation information into your calendar note, and then put everybody's email address. And what the best way to do it, if you, those of you who are using Free Toast Host, hopefully your members are set up on the website. You can just type members dash your club number at D40 or at toastmastersclubs.org. So members dash your club number at toastmastersclubs.org. That's on Free Toast Host. That's the easiest way to send the invitation to all your members. Now, maybe you have another way of doing it. Maybe you have everybody's personal email address or whatever. So I probably went over a little bit overkill there, but let me know if that answered your question.
Okay, thank you.
Scott, I have a question for the waiting room. Is there a way to set that up? Or is that automatically set up?
Yeah, so in the I'm trying to in the waiting room, basically what happens is that I think in the division director settings, the division director has the capability of setting up those preferences.
Okay.
And I don't know if everybody's setting up waiting rooms for their clubs or not, but you have that option. You can set up a waiting room. There's actually a checkbox that says require waiting room or not, or actually the passcode or that link, or both. You can set up multiple levels of security.
Thank you.
Let me see if I can find it. There might be something in here which security sharing.
You actually have access to a Zoom for Toastmasters. Stephen, while he's looking for that, do we actually have access to a Zoom through Toastmasters to hold our club meetings via Zoom? If so, how do we get access to that? Every division director, Scott, go ahead. If you want.
Oh, actually, yes. So what Liz was going to say is that every division director has access to a Zoom account, and that Zoom account for 90% of the clubs in that division are without any conflict. Unfortunately, we can't have two clubs on the same account at one time. There can only be one club. So if, let's say, two clubs have the exact same time, exact same day where they're having a meeting in the same division, then one club may have to go and use another account. And so that's where the division director can work out, hopefully, some of those conflicts. Some clubs have taken it upon themselves to just create their own account and pay for it on their own. And that's great if you have the budget. Most probably don't, but that's why the divisions have been set up to provide an access for each club to have a Zoom account, or not a Zoom account, but a Zoom meeting under their division account.
Okay, because we've been using an account, a professional account that one of our club members have.
Okay.
But we're pretty much at the mercy of if he's at the meeting or not.
Yeah, that's very true. They either have to give up the host or the passcode and the host key to whoever is going to be running that meeting, or they have to start the meeting. If they're not going to be there, they have to at least start it and then give you the host key.
Yeah, I didn't know we have access to anything like that.
Yes,
so.
and if your division director, like you do, conflict with another, we're reaching out to other division directors who may not have a conflict.
Mm-hmm.
So we get that set up. And, you know, I have my own personal, and there's a lot of people that do have their own personal, and they're happy to share that information.
Yeah, if it gets to be a cost burden for the club, or like you said, a logistical burden for the club, reach out to your area director and then the division director to be able to coordinate that.
Okay, great.
It's going to be a year, or at least almost a year before we get out of
Yeah,
this.
who knows when we're going to be allowed to go back to meeting in person, which, you know, obviously a lot of people prefer, but, you know, these types of meetings are great opportunities to share information and to have very productive meetings.
Well, we're having guests from other parts of the country.
Yes.
And a few club members that have left this geographic area, but will still come and attend our meetings now since we're on Zoom. So
there's some scary things to that, and there's some exciting things to that. Scary that you might lose membership if you're not relevant, but it's exciting because there can be a new level of interaction that you never thought was possible. And there's a lot of ways, there's a lot of capability of sharing information, sharing these presentations, sharing you know, how-tos and that sort of thing that are really difficult to do in person.
And Steve mentioned that joining with another club, maybe split the cost with another club. The other option, and Scott mentioned it before, if you have a conflict, and right now so many clubs have got low membership, join each other for a meeting, share meeting space, and have persons from each club do roles. And we did that when we first started on Zoom anyway, to get people acclimated.
Can be good for mentoring. You know, a club can mentor another club. If there's one club that's really struggling, the mentor club can bring in the mentee club, and like Liz said, combine meetings and combine speakers from each club. Help them out. Any other questions on some of the basics? I didn't really get too much into that. We got a little bit into the scheduling, and we talked a little bit about timer cards, and those are available on also our D40 website. I want to give a shout out to our D40 website where we have some really good information. And let me see if I can share. Let me see if I can share a screen which kind of gives you. And Liz, maybe can you put the D40?
I've got it up. Yeah.
Okay.
I've got it. I got the link.
Can you see my screen? Does it show the District 40?
I'm going to show you the, yes.
So in our District 40 website, there are some ways that you can go and, let's see, I thought there was a Zoom.
There is. I have the link pulled up. If you
you
want.
have it. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want me to stop sharing?
Yeah, and I'll try to share mine.
All right. I'll stop sharing.
Let's see. Where did it go? I say that, and then it disappeared. Okay.
Can you take down this meeting is being recorded?
Yeah. Yes.
It's
We have it
recording.
up in the left-hand corner. Should say recording. At least it's on mine. It is.
It is. Share.
It's in the middle of my screen.
Okay.
Oh, well, that's weird.
You have to accept it, then it'll go away.
Yes, it's allowing you to know that it's happening.
Yeah.
And right at the bottom of this, that gives you these links. Can everyone see now? This is on the D40 website. And for
Under
those
contests, under the main menu contests.
Yes.
Yeah. Up the top there, and under the main menu, there's a bunch of.
There we go.
Subfolders there or links that
Like
go under
fourth one
context.
down.
Yeah. And I think you're down at the bottom, right? There's
Different things for different checklists and things like that. Yeah.
So that's it. And then as far as the backgrounds, are there backgrounds? Okay, so right there, right in the middle, right above that little envelope, it says official Zoom timer backgrounds. You can go into that link, which will give you the files for the red, yellow, green, or that sort of thing. And those you would put in your video. So if you were to go into your, in the lower left-hand corner, you would go into your stop video icon. You would click on the little arrow, up arrow, and then you want to go and choose virtual background.
Here, I'll
Choose virtual background. And then there, what you can do is you can, if you don't have anything in there, first of all, save those files like we just showed to your hard drive. And then how to upload them to Zoom is after you go into the stop video arrow, then choose video background. You go into, or choose virtual background. You'll see a little plus sign underneath your picture. You'll come up underneath backgrounds and filters, and then you'll hit the plus sign, and then you can go to your hard drive and upload those, your red, yellow, green cards or those background cards. You may have to do it one at a time, so it might take a little bit of time to do that. And then once you've uploaded those, then you can do what Steve's doing, and you can kind of play around with them. You can click on them, like I'm clicking on my green one. Well, the reason why mine doesn't work very well is because I don't have a green background. This is one of the things that's kind of quirky with Zoom, is that the video and the background sometimes can get a little bit blurry, like you're seeing on mine. And like if I get away from the screen here, it doesn't do it very well. So you have to kind of be at the right level in order for it to be good. It's just a limitation of Zoom, unless you have a green background.
there's
I don't
laying
know
on
why.
the background.
I don't know why they like green backgrounds to make the virtual backgrounds good, but who knows?
That's what the news people use. That's what the weather guy uses.
Okay.
Christine put it in here that you can also pin the timer. And what that means is at the top, you can go on to the timer, go to the 3 dots over somebody's name. That's your 3 dots and the blue dots, the blue box with 3 dots, and it gives you the make host, co-host, but it also gives you the option to pin. That means like when we have this many people on, that person stays on the main screen or right next to you.
Yep. You can pin one of the participants just to see what they're, if they're
Right.
the speaker, you want to see them, then you can pin the speaker.
Another option is this with the new upgrade is you can move people around. Try it. Hover over. Oh, I cannot move when non-video participants are hidden. Oh, everybody's got to be on. But you can hover over somebody's picture and move them around. So you can also move your timer there too, to the front screen. When you pin someone, does that show on your screen? It's for you only. You're the one pinning it. Nobody else cares. If you want to pin the timer, that's your decision. If you want to sit and look at Lisa Lee all day and put her in the top corner, put her in the top corner yourself because she's so gorgeous. Okay, that's what you do.
Yeah.
That's what the pinning's about.
Now,
That's
I
right.
had a picture that I would put up as my virtual background,
Yes.
and now it seems like it's too big. So it
Oh.
looks like this, but see how it's like, I don't know if that'll work for me, huh?
Yeah, I can't see.
And
I don't know if there may be a limitation to the file size.
It says my device does not support virtual backgrounds,
Oh,
oh,
that's not good.
but it had been doing it all before this, so I don't understand exactly what the difference is. I used to be able to do the timing for my club meetings, and now it's giving me this record. I mean, it doesn't support virtual backgrounds.
Yeah, I don't know what the limitation is with respect to your computer and not being able to support virtual backgrounds.
yeah. Could just be maybe you had an update to your computer and you need to check on that. Yeah, that's not something that can.
Yeah, check the version of, I guess, look at your OS. This might be a frequently asked question in the Zoom free in the Zoom tutorials or something. Maybe you can look at the Zoom. I'll put the Zoom tutorials in the chat here too while we're, and this is a link to be able to look at general questions.
And Jeff made a bandwidth issue on
Okay,
your
John did put something in the chat
the
about
Zoom, yeah, the Zoom
system
articles.
requirements for virtual background. So make sure your PC has
Thank you, John.
has met those requirements.
Okay,
Great.
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Any other basic questions? So we talked a little bit about joining meetings, and we kind of talked a little bit about scheduling a little bit. We talked a little bit about how some of the little features work and virtual backgrounds, pinning. Is there any other is there any other basics before let me see if I'm going to look at before I keep going here. We talked a little bit about virtual backgrounds, security sharing, talked a little bit about enabling waiting rooms, and that again comes from your division director settings. The account that division director owns at this point, the settings in that would have to be setting up to enable the waiting room.
And at this time, well, we're going to, when you talk about the waiting room, since you're there, as a host, you can have it open until your contest starts and then change it to enable waiting room so that you don't have to let 50 people in. You let everybody in, and then once the contest begins, then you enable the waiting room so that you can let people in, so the people aren't jumping in the middle of a speech.
Let me go. I'm going to share. I just have 2 more slides left in my presentation here. So let me go and present the last 2 here. And the last 2 are with respect to registration. I'm not sure if the division directors have, I believe the division directors have another one of these types of settings in a registration, but really the registration for a Zoom meeting should come through another source. We usually do Zoom registrations at the district level, but we also use Eventbrite. But I think those are probably a better choice, is either to use Eventbrite or to use Meetup for your registration. So if you're registering guests, if you're expecting guests to come, I wouldn't necessarily suggest to use the Zoom registration. I would suggest that you use Eventbrite or Meetup. Those are the better choices at this point. But there is capability to do registration within Zoom. And then finally, polling might be something that you're interested in. Polling can be used for understanding who is, like, say, the best table topics in a particular meeting. You can create polls. It's anonymous, so everybody has the capability of voting on a particular speaker. Now, how do you set up polling? Again, polling is only capable with hosts and co-hosts. A co-host can go and do a polling. Basically, click on, if you're a host or co-host, you can click on the polling, and then you'll see these 2 screens that come up, or windows that come up. The first one on the left is add a poll, and you can create a title for it. Let's say, in this case, best table topic speaker. And if you want to remain anonymous, you can click on this link so you don't tell who voted for who. And then you type the question. You type, who is your favorite table topic speaker for this evening? And then you can say, I require a single choice. Okay, I just want one choice, not multiple choices. And you put all of the people who spoke in a table topic. So speaker 1, speaker 2, speaker 3. And then you click on save down at the bottom. Once you've saved it, then I believe you can activate it. And what basically will happen is you can activate it for however long the host or co-host wants to, and it'll tell you how long it's been going. Let's just say we'll keep it open for 5 minutes. As you can see, it just says, hey, this polling is in progress, and it's been in progress for 26 seconds. Obviously, it can go to 2 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever you want to do it, and then you can see the polls. And you don't want to share your screen. So if you're a host or co-host and you're running the polling, it's probably good not to share your screen until after everybody's done voting. So you can end polling and then you can share your screen. So make sure that when you're doing polling as a co-host or a host, that you're not sharing your screen while the voting is going on. It could skew your results or bias your results. So only keep it to yourself. And then once you call done, let's say after 2 or 3 minutes, hopefully it's not that long. Hopefully it's only a minute. Everybody gets a chance to vote. You check how many people have voted versus how many participants you have in your meeting. And you say, okay, this is good enough. I'm going to end the polling with that button down at the bottom right. And then you can share your screen and announce your winner. And then another good thing that Liz showed in the District 40 site under the contest page of District 40 is, I believe there are ribbons and award certificates. Now those are obviously digital. There's ways to edit those so you can put people's name and what they won and your club number or your club name. So those are take a little bit of time to coordinate, but that's a possibility. You can give those digital files out. Of course, it's not as good as getting something, in your hand like this, but it's something. It's recognition.
Scott, for a contest, do people use polling, or do we somehow get to view the judges' form?
So that's a great question, and I don't know the answer to that question. Liz, you want to take that, or?
Yes.
Okay.
For contest, your judges and officiants will stay in the breakout room. They'll go out after the contest, and the judges will turn in their forms there. There's different ways. We have a couple different options. Different contest master can choose, or the chief judge can choose how she wants to receive it. But as everyone knows, in a chat, you can send a private message versus sending it to everyone. Therefore, some judges have decided, okay, let's see, third place, John, second place, Sue, first place, Spider. We'll give him a chance. And then send it out. And that way it would go straight to the chief judge, and they can put it on their ballot counter. There's also Google Docs out there that when you type in it as a judge, you can do it on your phone. And it's simply a 1, 2, 3. All the names are there. All the contestants' names are there. There's also a blank so that you can type in someone. If say, Rick called in sick and Lee decided he is going to join him, then we put Lee's name in as the contestant for that day. So that gives you that option. So there's different ways to do that. That's not covered at this point. That's a little bit more technical. This was more for Zoom host. So I didn't get into all that. We do want to get some of that. We do have some PowerPoint presentations, or we have some background information, some Google Docs and that type of thing to do as well. But the breakout rooms are set up so that the contestants will go into one room and the officiants go into another room. That is something as a Zoom host you need to clarify. Don't say, oh, this is the judges room. Let's call all the judges back. No. It's still going to be secret. Nobody's going to know. Can all the officiants come to the room, and they'll go back to their room. As a Zoom host, this is where the waiting room helps. But as people come in, and I know, okay, I know Lisa's the judge, Lee is a contestant, Steve is a counter. I'm going to automatically assign them to their rooms. Here, let me.
Is that a good segue into you?
Yeah,
Liz?
I guess so. Yeah, that's probably the best.
While you're doing that, Christine had a question. Is there a difference in functionality between running Zoom from the website, from their website, and downloading Zoom from your PC or laptop? There may be some differences in running it in a web, like say, for instance, in a browser versus a Zoom client. I don't know the specifics as far as the differences, but there may be some subtle differences in the functionality. Using the Zoom client or zoom.us, which is not a website, it's a client, you may look at it and say, well, that's a website. Well, it's not really a website, it's a client. The client is the actual program. It has a lot more functionality in it than a browser. But I'm not sure the exact differences of how it looks and feels. I can look online to see what the difference would be, and I can share that while Liz is doing her thing.
And as Christine mentions, you would never use the poll for judging a contest.
Correct.
Never.
Not a club contest or an area or division or direct or a district contest.
Right. If you were doing something fun, like it says, best
like within a club meeting, right?
Best
Within a
table
club meeting.
topics in a club meeting on a regular basis, or if you're having a vote. That's what that's for, but it is not for contest, because we will have the judges form signed. We have everything in a contest, whether it be online or in person. None of those rules and regulations disappear. That's the key thing to remember. Everything will remain the same. You're going to have forms you're going to need to sign. You will still use the judges, the judging ballots, and for the evaluators and for the speakers, and you will use the proper forms. Do not use the speaker form, the international speaker for humorous, or humorous for table topics, or table topics for evaluation. Those forms are set out for Toastmasters International for a reason. The link to D40 has them on there. You can go to Toastmasters International and find them. But you do not use somebody else's forms or the other contest forms. Generally, we do things for fun, but when it comes to contests, this is serious business. So we have to remember that. The key with that, and I'll get into that because I was kind of doing that at the end, was with the contest, we're going to create the breakout rooms. For those of you who don't have that ability right now, we're going to create, you can click the button, breakout rooms. It looks like a window icon, as you saw. Just click it. Create breakout rooms.
And this is where, sorry.
Yeah, this is on the bottom, on the bottom screen, you have your mute, stop video, security, participants, polls, chat, share screen, record, breakout room, and reactions. If you are not a host, you cannot create a breakout room. If you are a co-host, you can create a poll.
On my screen, I don't see any of these things.
You don't. You're not the host of the meeting. Okay. You have a mute and a stop video?
Yes.
Yes. The security icon?
No, I don't have a security icon.
Okay.
It goes participants, chat, share screen, record, reaction.
A lot of these are host and co-host buttons. That's why I printed the screen. You cannot do them unless you're a host. To be able to do this and practice on your free Zoom if you don't have an account. And you can open that up. That's why we're just giving you screenshots to show. When I open a chat breakout, when I click the icon for the breakout room, this is the screen I see. Breakout, create breakout rooms. And you get one. Then you just add a room, add a room. You can have up to 100 rooms, I think it is. I don't think you're gonna need that many unless everybody wants to be in a room by themselves. So you're just gonna create, for a contest, typically 2 rooms is all you need because we're in a main room right now. That's it. And then you have your contestants and you have your officiants. So you only need 2 extra rooms. Think of it as you're in a big room at Parsons and everybody goes to, judges go off in one corner, contestants go off in another, and everybody does their briefings. So these are the briefing rooms. As a host, you're going to assign people to these rooms. As the contestants come in, you can rename these rooms too. You can rename them. I rename these to officiants and briefing room. That's your choice. I don't know that there's a whole lot of reason to it. What we've done in the past is, okay, Scott goes in room 1. Judy goes in room 2. Bono goes in room 1 because they're either an officiant or a contestant. Everybody else stays in the main room. And what, as you know, for those of you who did do training, you renamed yourself. And you know how to rename yourself? To add something to the side. You hit that rename button and you can put the numbers beside it. You can change your full name. You can put your DTM in there, put your club number, put whatever you can change. I would suggest you not put something funky because then we won't let you in the room. But, or in the free toast host. But put the room number. If you're doing this, you don't want to put briefing or, you know, judge briefing room beside there or judge beside it. You don't want to label somebody because everybody can see that name. So what we did for the contest previously was we put 1 and 2. Or you can put L or C, B and C, something very quickly, because the C just means contestant. We don't know what they're doing. Nobody cares. Contestants is not secret, but the officiants are secret. So we want to just put all the officiants in one room together. Okay.
For the area contest, though, we'll need to put them all in there, right? For the evaluation contest, we'll need to put all the contestants in there.
Yes, that's different. Yeah, for the then you could have a 3rd room for the evaluators if you so chose, or you can put them back into the contestant room. It's not going to matter. But I'll make sure they're all in one room for that contest. You could have 3 rooms, and then you as the host knows which rooms are which. That room 1 is for this, or you put the B, C, E or something that you know how people are, so that you're aware. But again, the host is the only one that can do this. The co-host can help people rename people. And that's why it's before the contest, your host is given the list of officiants and given the list of the contestants so that they can do this as they're coming in. And that's why you have 2 or 3 co-hosts to help you run the meeting. Your sergeant at arms are getting everybody with their cameras turned off, getting everybody with their sound muted, getting everybody renamed, taking their DTMs off, taking this, because nobody needs to know that speaker is a DTM, because you don't want to give them an unfair advantage. You don't want to give, and people will come on and say, oh, I'm a judge. No, you don't need that beside your name. We don't want that. Just like in real life, it's secret. Because nobody needs to know. We don't want to be bribing people and everything.
Hey Liz, for the evaluation contest.
Yes.
You know how we typically give the people one sheet of paper, they write down their notes on the individual, They got 5 minutes, they're in a separate room. What is your recommendation? How are we going to do that in the breakout room? Where typically in-person contest, we're taking away from them. Sergeant at Arms has it, and then right before they get up and speak, you're going to sit there and give it to them. What's your recommendation that we do?
Okay, TI has a recommendation, and there is a PowerPoint that we're going to share with you too. Scott, you have that link. I can share. I can add it. But this is one that was created back. The one that I told people who were in early that Jean and Lavinia looked at the very beginning, back in March of last year, that was created. It's even in English and Mandarin, so that people can have those options. And some of those things will be outdated, but some of them are. It covers all contests because all different districts have different contests. With the evaluation, that most of us have decided that, okay, here's my piece of paper. I've written my notes. I fold it up, put it behind me, and I got to show my hands to the sergeant at arms in the room for that whole time. And that's why you have 2 sergeant at arms in that room, so you can have somebody going back and forth and somebody making sure that the evaluator is not taking an unfair advantage. Most people are adult and are not going to do it. Most people are not going to do it intentionally, but if it's sitting in front of you, you might take a look. So this way, it just gives everybody the opportunity to be fair and equitable. So the first speaker gets the same amount of prep time as the last speaker of reviewing their notes. Because we've talked about, let's forward it to the chief judge or forward it to the sergeant at arms. Well, that's not going to work because I typed the notes. Well, I still have the original. You don't have mine. And I can take a picture of it and send it to you. That's not going to help. So put it behind you. And then just sit, with your hands to yourself. And then chit chat with everybody in the room. Right. You should pray that you're going to win. Whatever you need. But that way we can confirm that it's equitable for all of the evaluators.
So are we recommending that they write out their notes instead of typing them?
That's the individual, but yes, most people are used to writing them out. And if they type them out, that's going to be a problem. So they just need a blank piece of paper so they can write their notes.
I think that's going to have to be required.
I've never seen anybody type them out because you've got 5 minutes to sit there and do it.
Right.
Yeah, but you're normally you're at your computer, so it's just as easy for you to type them out as it is to write.
How many of y'all type 100 words a minute?
Well, but I definitely.
All right.
I type faster than I write.
Yeah.
Well, but maybe. But okay,
no, that's most of us.
Very few of you can.
No.
Write it that fast and write it in a complete sentence and paragraph. That's
but you're taking
the whole
notes.
idea.
No, people type faster than they write. A lot of people type faster than they write.
Well, then no, you cannot type because we want it. It has to be private.
Right, so that's what I said. So we're recommending that when people take their notes, they write their notes. That's the instructions that we were
PI says take a piece of paper and put it down. Turn it over and put it down. We have addressed even further. The original one that we're going to send out says just type it and turn it down. TI now, if you go on TI right now, they recommend putting it behind them.
This is Garlene. I don't know that can be a recommendation. I think it's going to have to be a requirement that they're not typing it.
Well, that's why TI says use it, write it on a piece of. The guidelines for evaluation is everybody is given an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper to take their notes as an evaluator. Right. That is what the contestant the speech book says, the rule book says. The contestant evaluator has an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper to take their notes.
I'm just saying.
The only thing on it is at the top it says evaluation contest, and that's it.
Exactly. You can download it if they need to download it, but since some people may not be able to print that exact form, I think we're okay with using a blank piece of paper.
All right, thanks, Liz.
My point is, I think that it needs to be stated that it's required that you write it versus type it.
Right.
Because if it's not stated that way, I would and I was competing, I would probably type it because it's easier for me. And then I'd be like, oh, dang, it's typed. I wouldn't know until afterwards. So I think it needs to be stated explicitly that it has to be written on an 8.5 piece of paper.
Well,
in
I'll do
advance.
that for the area and division, and I'll talk to Tracy Baker for the district.
Thank you. And then somebody mentioned something about, I'm not reading all these notes, Scott, you need to help me here on this chat. The official note sheet we had to use last time. That is in there. It's in, should be one of the links on the D40 website. You can also download it from TI. If somebody needs to print it.
Right, but it was required before. Are they not requiring us to use that sheet now?
Scott, you're muted.
Unmute, sorry. That actual note sheet is on our D40 members website under contests. If you go down in that page that Liz was sharing earlier under Chief Judge Resources, it has evaluation contestant notes. That is a PDF, which actually is a fillable PDF, but it should be printed out, I think, in cases of, it must be printed out in cases of this. I don't know. I don't know how we can have people type it and not.
There's no way to keep it. Right. There's no way to keep it with.
And that's my question.
I cannot require you go to Staples to print something.
Yeah.
You have to. If not,
That's,
then
well, then we'll take it as a takeaway and go back to TI and see what TI says.
Yeah, I think these are good questions. I'm not sure.
Questions. It's something that.
You look at the best practices that Toastmasters has, trying to get to the link, and I got spot, so it's horrendous.
Yeah.
But they actually say that the sergeant at arms should monitor the room where the evaluation contestants are waiting, and the evaluation contestants should make sure that their hands are visible so they're not holding a phone or something and listening to the contest with another login, and that they're not looking at their notes or something. It's kind of creepy, but you need to stare at the camera with your hands visible, and that's how you handle that fillable form typing kind of thing. You're not kind of looking off to the side and memorizing your notes or something like that. You're being creepy with the sergeant at arms.
So somebody could conceivably type it. I can read over here and you don't even know.
Cheaters are going to cheat. Cheaters are going to cheat. But that's what we got.
Since we know the contestants ahead of time, could the contest chair just inquire, do you have a way of printing out your note sheet? And if they say no, the contest chair or whoever could actually just mail them a copy. We know in advance.
Sure. Yeah.
Provide,
and that's a
what would mess up is if someone filled in at the last minute because they were ill or something. But we know all the first place, maybe just first and second place people. Just ask them all. Do you have an ability to print it? If not, send me your address and I'll mail you a copy, and just get that done in advance so they have it.
Yeah. And again, we'll check with TI to make sure about that. If they must use the form or if a blank.
New rule book, page 17 and 18 on the new rule book, if somebody wants to look at it.
Yeah. I don't have that pulled up.
Yeah, I got it.
It's on here, but. And I've read it, but I didn't, I just. I'm sorry, I didn't get it memorized. Thanks, Rick. Or Keith, that's Keith, not Rick. Sorry. Okay.
I don't think I have anything else. There was actually a question around Chief Judge here. It says, how do you as a Chief Judge get the signed and completed forms back from the judges? May not be related to, but how do we do that with Zoom? We may have answered that, but I wasn't sure.
I'm sorry, repeat that again.
Sure. It says, how do you as a Chief Judge get the signed and completed forms back from the judges in Zoom?
You don't get you're going to get the ballot. The Chief Judge never gets your worksheet. They only get the ballot with the first, second, or third place winners. And as I was saying, you could do this in the chat. There's also a Google Doc that was created that mirrors the TI worksheet. It's exactly, it's just it's just editable that you can use on your phone, that we can get that out. But some of the chief judges chose not to use that. I think Christine was maybe one of them at the time, because the very first contest we did, we just, thankfully Julie and Casey created a number of different things for that. And they just decided to add the winners, send them directly to the chief judge. And that chief judge was able to read and you add them to a ballot, to the ballot counter sheet. And then the ballot counter and the chief judge side by side could review that and count it up just like they would in person. The eligibility forms, just like we would in a regular contest, Stephen, you'd have them done ahead of time. They can be signed digitally and forwarded to the chief judge, but all of that would be done ahead of time. And the chief judge obviously will make sure that they have all the forms signed before you can participate. If you have 12 judges, all 12 have to sign. None of that ruling has changed. It's just a matter of being able to send it over. I send it over in a PDF, mail it to the chief judge, email it to the chief judge, and they have it signed.
I'm on a different device, and I went into with my free account. I see security, chat, meeting settings, minimize meeting, virtual background. I do not see the polling. I do not see create break rooms.
You will not. You will not. You have to be the host of your own meeting.
Okay, but if I created my own meeting, but I thought we said we're the host.
But this meeting is not created by you.
No, I'm saying I'm on a different computer, a different iPad. I went in as myself with my little free account to see if I could simulate being the host.
I think the free account has some limitations that the pro account does not have.
Actually, I think it's more a matter of being on the iPad. I think the iPad can't.
The iPad is your issue, not the. Thank you, Garlene. Yes.
For the polling, I know you have to go in and set that up. It's not automatically once you're the host. So you set up your account, and you have to actually go in and set up for the option for the polling. And I think the same is for the break rooms. So it gives you like a settings and all of that, and you have to go switch those things on. It just doesn't systemically appear when you set up your meeting.
But again, it's like Garlene said with Judy, the iPad has limitations too for those types of things as a host.
So I guess the two things to try, Judy, is one, take a look at that link that who posted that link. I looked at it. It's a great link. It's a great table that shows the different kinds of devices and all the different features and which ones are available for each of the devices. Whoever posted that link, thank you. It's great.
Right, good.
And then the second thing is, absolutely, like Johnny was saying, you have to go into your settings and enable some things. I can't remember if breakouts was disabled by default or not. It's been so long ago, but it might be.
Okay, well, thank you.
Larry, do you need to have more than one person on the Zoom before it shows polls and breakouts? No, it's still there. You're not able to create it because I can create the breakout room, but I can't send anybody because there's nobody there. Same thing with the poll. I can create it. Used to be you had to create the poll before the meeting, and now with some of the updates you can create it during the meeting. It's made it extremely positive for that. Christine just uploaded a link too. Now that's something we want to get to because we're almost getting closer to the end. Let's go back to share. and allowing participants breakout rooms. If for the COTS and that, and for the TLIs, if you're going to do a Zoom host, breakout rooms, you can change the timing. You know, most of the sessions were 45 minutes. So we put it at 45 minutes and it automatically kicks everybody out. And tell me, that is extremely beneficial, because think about it. Even in live person, it was difficult getting somebody out of room because Toastmasters like to talk. This way it pushes everybody back to the main room so we can keep the flow going and keep the timing going. But it gives everyone in the room a 60-second countdown. You can change that, but it gives everybody a countdown timer for the last 2 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever you choose.
So if you have a breakout room and you save the chat in the breakout room, is that a separate chat file?
No, that's where I was getting here. Before I get to you, Judy, let me do this. Okay. Sometimes everyone has the option to be able to share. You don't share while the host is sharing, but everyone has that option. Occasionally, the system will be a glitch. So as a host or co-host, you have to go in and reallow the sharing for that particular person. It's easy to do. You can do it here, and then, or do it up at the very beginning when you opened up where the 3 dots were, and allow that person to share. As far as the chat, some people may not have done this. I've been teaching this to people and they're freaking out because they haven't heard it and it's been a year. But in the chat screen, everything that's on there, there's the file button, and then there's 3 little dots over to the side. If you click on that, everybody can do that right now. And you click on that, it gives you the options to save the chat. Okay. That will save everything that you saw. And like Judy said, she went into a breakout room and came back. It's going to save you. Both chats, and it'll save it all together. This is saved onto your hard drive. And you just go in and find documents. I just type in chat and all the chats that I have done. Saved in all the meetings and different things. It's really ideal for links. Somebody's made a comment. Oh, that's what I thought I did. I had the screen shared, Scott. But yes, it's over under the chat, in the chat box, to the bottom right-hand corner of the chat box. It's got a file if you wanted to upload something, and then there's the 3 dots. You click on that, you have save chat, and the participant can chat with no one, host, everyone, publicly and directly. Saving chat is what you're looking for.
Liz?
You could conceivably turn the chat off completely. You wouldn't do it with a Toastmasters, but some people have other different types of meetings where they don't want everybody talking, so they'll close that chat.
Liz,
yes.
Once I save the chat and I go to my PC, it doesn't give me an option to name it, or what do I do after that?
Yeah, it doesn't. I have to remember the date.
Sometimes what will happen is that you can, so hopefully it will say, after you've saved chat, it will say show in your Finder or show in your downloads.
Show in folder.
It says show in folder.
Oh, show in folder.
Right.
So click on that, and that'll open up a window where it would save that text file, and then you can click that file and open that file, and it'll have all the records of the chats, which will include hopefully the links that we've provided here. So you can kind of see the cadence of who wrote what and when.
It is in a text file for a notepad or notebook, but
it's a notepad type thing.
You can rename it when you're in that folder. If you say open in folder, you can rename it once you're done with the meeting.
Yeah,
Or let's say,
I did it during the meeting, and I just called it chat, and I gave the date and everything, and then I just saved it to my desktop. So it's real simple.
You do
Simple
not
to
need
do.
to say chat and date because that's automatic, just so you know.
That's my point. When
Open the doc, as Judy said, open the chat, and then after the meeting's over, go into the find it, then you can name it. Then you can change the name.
Okay. I couldn't find the folder for it. In other words, when it opened up.
Gotcha.
So does it automatically just put it on my desktop? So when this meeting is over, I will find something on my desktop?
Puts it in a folder.
Brenda, mine is in documents and a folder called Zoom, and then it creates a special folder for the meeting. And so when you do that show in folder, it should show you the file path at the top. But are you on a PC or a Mac?
PC.
PC, yeah. So it's probably defaulting to the same place under documents, then Zoom, then the meeting name. Well, it's got a bunch of gibberish and then the meeting name.
Well, since I know you, can I get with you some other time so we're not holding this up? Thank you.
I can help you out.
Okay, I think I'm done with my very brief presentation. I told you I'm not a PowerPoint person. Scott used Michael's, and we've got some others. Did you upload the one from the Region 10? The link?
I did not. You know, if somebody really wants to just dive into 99 slides, and these slides actually are really good to kind of go over the kind of a checklist for each of the contests. I can put that in the chat. I do have a link to it here. It's public. It was generated by what appears to be a pretty competent Toastmaster in Asia somewhere. And he put together a really good PowerPoint. I'm going to put this in the chat. Now, use this at your own risk. But it's got a lot of really good information in it. If you're really gung-ho about being a contest master and wanting to know all the ins and outs of doing these contests on Zoom, then this is the file for you.
Yes, and it does have some good points. I looked at it.
It does have some good points.
Again, there's a lot of it you may not need because it starts from the very beginning. It's very detailed. Like you said, it's 99 points, but we're going to do the international and we're going to do the evaluation. You don't need the tabletop. You don't need the humorous. You don't need some of the other contests that are involved in it. It is very detailed, and I found a few screens that I thought were pertinent that you might find. So there's another question in the chat. Oh, that's just a Google Doc. Okay. I want to save a record. Any other questions? I know we didn't cover everything, but again, these are some of the tools that you can go to try to help you in that contest. Again, with a contest, particularly, we're looking for Zoom hosts for everything, for webinars, for COTS, for TLIs, and to help other clubs, anything. So it's not just about contests. Feel free to, email me, whatnot. That's okay. I'm happy to be here. I'm having surgery next week, so give me a couple of weeks to be out of La La Land, and I'll be able to answer some questions.
We'll fill in for you, Liz. You can contact me or Steve Lanham, or we'll help you get connected.
Yes, and remember, the contest itself is the same. All of the rules are the same. We're just doing it in a different format. So your room is not down the hall. So you have to bring your own food. It's still the same contest. We still have judges, ballot counters, sergeant-at-arms, contestants, and a lot of audience. The biggest thing on a contest, because we have everybody here, not everybody's open, is when you have a lot of people in the room, you want to hide your videos. And it is disconcerting, and a lot of people last year for the humorous were like, but I can't see anybody. But you don't see anybody when you're practicing in your office or in your bathroom either. So what you don't want is people moving around and people leaving the room, or somebody coming across the screen and disrupting you and interrupting you when you're giving your speech. So yes, it can be disconcerting, but it can also be a positive. So we want to hide everyone. And the only people that would show up for the contestant is the contest master initially, the contestant, and the timer. Therefore, you don't lose that timer somewhere because you forgot to pin them or the system didn't work. Practice with your officiants, practice with your contestants. Make sure that they get all the practice and all the equipment. If they need to use their phone as a contestant, practice with that. If they're going to use their iPad, practice with that so that they learn where they're on and off, where their cameras are, where they're muted, so that they know how to use that computer. Set it up. I know Becca is the person I'm speaking about with her phone. She set it up on a bookcase. She had a spot there. She didn't use it, that particular spot, for every one of her speeches, and still does to this day. She does not use a laptop. She uses her phone for her speeches. And she gets a good half a body on that. But it's a practice, practice, practice. Your officiants, if your officiants want to practice uploading and transferring and judging, have a mock contest. Do not use the contestants. Have a mock table topics. Since we're not doing table topics this year, have a mock table topics. Have 3 or 4 people do some fun table topics, and then your officiants can go off, do their judging, and come back.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
So when you said she had a half a body, that reminded me. So for the contest, would you recommend that people, this is Eric, that people stand up away from their computer? Because I typically put my head in the center of the computer.
It's recommended for a speech, just like you would regularly, like Scott's got. There are, I'll also get that out. There are, like Judy did a lot of too, because she would participate as a contestant last year. The lighting is key. If you set up your camera, my camera moves. And so I can set it up on me. I can sit back. You can see me better.
Right.
You want your lighting so that your face still shines.
Right.
You don't need to see your toes like
Okay.
you would in real life. The more you can see, preferably from at least the waist up.
So kind of like you said,
part of his body movement.
like what Scott's doing, sticking his hand under his armpit.
Yeah, we want to see that in the speech. We want to see that in the speech.
Yeah. Okay.
And just it's practice, practice, practice. Have them practice it you can do this in a meeting. I'm forever. Where's Gail? She's on here somewhere. I'm constantly saying, try to stand up. Because people sit down in front of the camera and sit like this, try to give a speech. Even in a regular meeting, you don't have the energy. Yeah, Garland. Yeah, right. If you're back far, you can sit, but don't do this in your chair because people will do this and different things. So it's just to practice and help your contestants way ahead of time.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
And same thing with the officiants. Make sure that they're comfortable.
This is an elementary question, but you have said several times, pin the timer so that they stay visible.
Okay.
Exactly how do you do that?
There's 2 different ways to do it. Hover over the blue dots on somebody, just over whoever, you put it on another person, and there's about 5 down, says pin.
Try it out on Judy Smith, because she's trying to set that up now.
She's set up as a timer. Do it on her. You can pin it. That brings her to you. So when people start moving around, she still stays in the room with you. You can also do it on the participants list. I'm losing my participants list. And do your pinning there under your more button. It's not allowing me to do it there, apparently. Anyway, but pin the timer there. In the contest, everybody will be hidden. There's also the option now, today, with the new upgrade for Zoom, to be able to move people around. Because I have a lot of people on hidden, I can't do it. But you hover over the picture and just move it around.
I noticed that. That was kind of fun.
It is fun. Practice it. Practice in your club meeting. It is, because you can move everybody around and kick them out or whatever you need to do. But it is fun.
I put everything in alphabetical order.
Everybody in the meeting would need to pin the timer.
Yeah.
Whoever's speaking would need to pin the timer.
Oh, okay.
Nobody else needs to see that time. The judge is not even supposed to know the timing.
Gotcha.
Because they don't disqualify or have any, that's up later. The chief contest master or timer will give the information to the chief judge, but the judges will not know the timing.
I was thinking primarily of a general meeting where you've got, say, 15 people there. How does the timer?
There's not a real, why, I don't know why, everybody, you could. If all 15 people wanted the timer to be front and center, they could pin them. I personally want the speaker to be front and center. So I pin the speaker or put it on speaker view. Does everybody understand what I'm talking with there? Instead of the Brady Bunch look, you're just going to the view.
Hey, Liz, last year I helped out with about 8 contests, but 2 of them at the area and division, some in our divisions and some outside the district, they lost their timer because the timer got disconnected. So my recommendation is that you have 2 timers.
Always, you should have 2 timers.
So my thing is, when I sit there and did it, I had them pinning 2 people. So if one person got disconnected and I seen it happen, then all of a sudden they're still going to see a timer for somebody else. Even though typically you got one person that's doing the official time and one person that's flashing their screen. But if somebody loses their screen, and this was what, at about 120 people on one, about 105 on another one. So depending on how many people online, somebody's going to get disconnected.
The key is having your back channel. We're going to run a little bit over. Having a back channel. Your timers should have each other's emails or text. So they can say, I got kicked out. You need to jump on. Your judges and your contest master are going to be connected. Your host, some of your co-hosts are going to be connected. Again, via text. Is extremely important. If your host gets kicked out, the contest master falls sick, has food poisoning at lunch and can't come back, somebody's got to know so we can get another contest master. That's why you have a group text, 5 or 6 people. You don't want 100 people on a text because that would just drive you crazy. Your key people that are going to help you to be able to make it work. And have those people so that I can know, because you're going to have the chat. You guys can chat, send me a chat via host, but if I'm doing this and doing this and you put it on here, then one of the co-hosts can help you. Somebody else can help. I don't have to do it all. So it's key to have a chat of your key people. And the timer should have to each other, because that way they can confirm the timing. I got 7:33. I got 7:33. Good. I got 8 and you got 7. What? Yeah. Because people do get kicked out.
Okay, so quick question about a contest, and maybe you'll go into this another day, but you have 2 sergeant at arms.
Yes.
You've got a breakout room with the evaluators in it, and the sergeant at arms is in there. And so normally when you have a regular room, you can walk down, one sergeant at arms walks down to the other room and tells them it's okay, whatever, or they're standing outside the door looking in or something, so you can make visual contact. Well, what are you supposed to do in this scenario? One sergeant at arms is in the breakout room. one sergeant at arms in the main room, but then how do they communicate to say, bring the next contestant in? That same way, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you can jump back and forth between, and you can do, to the host, you can send a private message.
So can the sergeant at arms jump back and forth between the main room and the breakout room?
Yes. I just go back to that room and say, hey, we're ready. Come on, follow me.
Without any host intervention?
Correct.
Okay.
Once you're in a breakout room like that, you can come and go.
I see. Okay.
Think of it, when we have all the contestants or have all the officiants briefed, we do the timers, they leave. We do the ballot counters, they leave. We still have the judges because the timers don't need to sit and listen to all that. So people can leave. When you have two timers, because you're going to have two timers, you're going to have a timer in the contestant room and a timer in the officiant's room. You're going to have a timer for the contestants room. Why? Somebody tell me. Why does timer meet with the contestants?
The 5 minutes for the evaluation contest.
You need to show them what the timing cards are going to look like. You need to show the contestants what the timing cards are going to look like and what it's going to look like that day and that time. Just a reminder, just like you would in real life. That's what it's all about.
Mm-hmm.
It keeps it as much as consistency with an in-person, but we're just doing it online.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And I know we haven't covered everything. Read some of the documents that we have, but we'll have some more. Even if we have to do another webinar, not on a Wednesday night.
Yes, thank you. I just came from another Zoom meeting.
Yes, thanks, Kent.
I'm just busy.
I've got a Zoom night every night this week, so tell me, I hear you. And most of us are in that at this point in our lives. Any other questions last minute?
I think that's the one suggestion that they keep making in the chat is we definitely, I think, yeah, going through a trial run on, okay, you're playing this part, you're playing this part, you're playing this part, and actually go through a mock contest.
Yes.
Because some people learn by reading, some people learn by doing. So
yes.
I think that was the best bet.
And it's going to be different. The same thing I talked about the contestants doing it on their device, but the officiants should be doing it on their device too. Trying to judge on a phone is not the easiest way. So.
I can say this much is just bear in mind that even though everyone could have the most latest and greatest version of Zoom on all of their devices, however, Zoom on a PC, Zoom on a laptop, and a Zoom on an iPhone is completely different in functionality and controls. So
right. Yes, we kind of talked about it at the beginning, and that's just it. It is going to be different. Go to the Zoom FAQs on your Zoom. It'll give you some good pointers. We've also got that in the chat, so you can find those to get caught up, and that will help you tremendously. That's how Michael learned everything he knew, and John knew quite a bit of it before, but I guarantee you he was reading it too. So, and I know Scott has, and we all have read that. So it really is beneficial. They are there. And if you have a question that's not answered, they'll answer it. So that's the key. They're very helpful. All right. Have a good evening. Thanks for staying that extra few minutes. Remember, you can contact us and we'll be there.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Liz. So much.
You're welcome. Bye.
Thank you, Scott.